Hello and welcome to another episode of Buddhish. It is with heavy hearts that we record this episode concerning the recent overturning of Roe v. Wade by the United States Supreme Court. We wanted to do this episode to follow along with our consistent Buddhish theme that we've been building up so far, which is essentially fuck fascists.
And to be clear, Republicans are fascists at this point. I want to be very clear what we're talking about. Fuck Republicans, they are fascists. And also, fuck Democrats who are refusing to fight them.
Yes, this political spectrum, this politicizing of human bodies, this taking away medical treatment rights from people is just pure actual evil. And it's playing into this theocratic Christo-fascism that it really just makes me not want to live in the country anymore. And it really just makes it hard to believe that there's any positive change that could come out of voting, that could come out of protesting, that could come out of doing anything. Because we've tried all those things. And look where we ended up.
I still think we should vote, but not because that's going to fix things. At this point, the only thing voting accomplishes is delaying how bad it's going to get. And I still think we should do that, because
I agree that we should do that for sure.
If fascists get in power again, then democracy in the United States is over. So we should still do that. But also, it's not going to fix the problem. Democrats are are almost as much of the problem, and I don't know what to do, but what we're doing isn't working, and it seems like we're doing this because we were expecting this to happen. We've been expecting it for a while now, but the complete lack of response to it from leadership in this country, I did not expect.
And the fact that the system is set up so that branch of government essentially gets to be 9 god emperors in their black robes who get to say these things and make them be legal precedent for the rest of our lives and the rest of their lives. That's also pretty broken too. I don't think there's very many other places on Earth, if any place on Earth, that has a system that allows that sort of thing to happen. And, maybe if this sort of thing is happening here and it's a problem, we should just change the system. But this is the same problem that you have with radical conservative Christians. They're really crazy about their old, antiquated, obsolete documents. And just like the Bible is regarded as the unbreakable, inviolable Word of God, so too is the Constitution nowadays. And changing the system such that there's not a court that can act like a god emperor and, set the law of the land based on whatever politics have happened to infect them at the moment. It's just broken.
So, the thing we have to remember is that the other side genuinely believes that they are fighting for their children's souls. We have to remember that an evangelical Christian thinks that hell is a real place that anybody who is not their specific brand of Christian will go to. They believe genuinely that if their child comes out as gay or any kind of not straight, that child is going to suffer for eternity in their afterlife. I am saying this not to try to inspire empathy, but to try to demonstrate what we are up against. These people believe they are literally fighting for their children's souls. That shouldn't inspire empathy.
That should show us how difficult this is how much of an uphill battle we have in front of us.
Exactly. Think how hard you would fight to protect your child from an eternity of torment. That is how hard these people are going to fight, and we need to get ready for it.
And that's how much harder you have to fight. That's how much harder you have to push against that in order to overcome it.
I'm a little uncomfortable laying that burden on the feet of the listener, because that's not... I suspect most of our listeners have given that we've already said fuck Republicans and fuck fascists several times now, I suspect most of our listeners know what's up. The problem is that our government doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
The Democrats are so completely out of touch with reality that they can't fix the problem. The best they can do is almost, sort of, keep it from getting worse, and they're failing at even that. So I don't know what to do at this point. We need a revolution. That's what it comes down to. This is a revolution level threat that we face, and we need to start doing it that way. And I've been trying to find leaders who are trying to build an actual leftist movement, and it does not seem to exist, and I don't know where to look at this point.
I don't know where to look either. And, as these things stack up, as anti-human legislation gets passed and passed and passed and ratified and ratified and ratified.
And protected by the Supreme Court.
Yes, and protected by the Supreme Court. I just keep thinking to myself, with this onslaught of, politically unpopular laws, I have to emphasize here, the United States, as broken as this society is, ideologically and culturally and socially, these legislations that are getting passed, these anti-trans legislations, these anti-women legislations, all of these legislations are wildly unpopular. It's constantly confirmed by polls and by surveys and just by reactions to these laws that a majority or even sometimes a supermajority of Americans are in favor of things like universal health care, in favor of gender-affirming healthcare access for LGBTQ people, and certainly in favor of a kind of pro-women, pro-choice legislative structure and healthcare access infrastructure. And that being the case, as these laws just keep sliding on, and as every week, it's the worst legal political news I've heard in my life again and again and again. I just keep thinking to myself,
over and over and over.
I just keep thinking to myself, okay, well, I'm just not going to follow those laws. I'm just simply not. And I'm sure that there's plenty of people out there who would feel the exact same way. At this point, it's if we're going to be held hostage by this radical Christo-fascist minority of Americans, instead of playing a game and butting heads with them, some part of me sometimes wants to just say, okay, well, they say they can't have abortions, and that's totally fine. But there's got to be plenty of people out there, medical professionals included, who are I'm just simply going to continue giving abortions. I'm simply going to continue to, do everything I can to give access for healthcare for LGBTQ people. And I just keep thinking to myself, maybe it doesn't have to be as much of a violent revolution as it just has to be a secession from the entire middle half of the country, if that makes sense.
Revolutions do not have to be violent. They often are, but it doesn't have to be. And that's why I am specifically calling for revolution rather than violence specifically.
Absolutely.
But also, the people who are just ignoring those laws and continuing to do all that shit, they're going to get arrested. Because, again, this is fascist. And
that's true.
They are going to enforce their laws. I've heard a lot of people going oh, they won't be able to enforce this. There's no way they can do it. Fuck off. They can, they will. Think about what they would have to do to enforce these laws and understand that's what they're going to do. Watch. There is going to be a registry of pregnant people soon. There are going to be states that are hey, if you're pregnant, you are on a list and we are watching you. That's going to happen, and we need to be ready for it.
Well, I should actually mention that is happening. So, if there's any women in America who are listening to this who haven't heard this yet, please listen closely. If you have a period or menstruation tracker on your phone, you need to be extra careful, because there's a very likely chance that app is selling that personal healthcare data to the government or to private industries. This is what most apps on your phone do. They sell your private data to data brokers or to the government. and that's how they make a profit. That's how they can give you a free app if it's free app. And so if you have one of these apps, please, 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 please get rid of it. Please, please, please turn it off, because that is information that is going to be usable to security agencies regarding your reproductive cycle and your health and your pregnancies and that sort of thing, if that ever comes to be a situation you're in. So get rid of it.
Yeah. I don't want to do too much more on this subject just because, it's a drag to talk about, and also we're a pair of cis-het dudes. Like, I don't think we have a lot of room to be giving pregnant people or people who may become pregnant advice. Because, like, I don't know about you, but I don't know anything about that. But at the same time, like, we've got to do something. And I don't even know who we are in that sentence yet, but it's still true. Something has to happen. We have to do something.
Well, I will say this. I do currently live in a state that that does not have any trigger bans, meaning, like, after Roe versus Wade has been overturned, the state that I live in, Illinois, does not have, like, a law that goes into effect that says after Roe v. Wade is overturned, abortions are banned. And so that means that even though Planned Parenthood has lost federal funding and federal support, and therefore abortions are going to be a lot more difficult to get safely, not to mention the fact that people from the states where it is banned are going to be coming to the states where it's not banned. The difficulty of access is going to be huge. But what I am saying is that as a person who lives in Illinois, I'm going to try and do what I can and offer the bedroom to people who need to stay the night and come get an abortion in this state from another state where it's banned. Because that's just, I can't imagine having to, first off, be in a situation where you have to get an abortion for your health and safety, and then having to spend time and money and all these other barriers of access to actually get to a state where they'll even do it for you. And I'm just trying to take all of the roadblocks out that I can in between, that person and the positive outcome. And so this is me saying, in Illinois, if you need a bed while you come and get an abortion where it's protected for now, please, please, please reach out. And I'm here to help. Docs, I don't think that you live in a state where it's actually going to be viable. So
yeah, people are celebrating this event in my area, so I can't do that. But there are abortion networks out there that can help you. I'm not an expert in these, so I'm not gonna try to give advice on finding them, other than just like search your state and or area plus abortion network. And I have donated some money to some networks locally, and so that's how I found them, and I guess that's it.
If you are in a state where there has been a trigger ban and abortions are banned outright, like in Texas, or they're banned according to very strict criteria, like some other states that I've heard about, be careful when you're searching these things. I'm always an advocate for internet security, and you might want, if you're going to search Texas abortion network, Illinois abortion network, if you're in a state where it's illegal, I highly recommend doing some sort of VPN or anything like
Use
that. Use Tor.
The Onion Relay browser that will keep you secure on this for this specific thing. Do not use incognito mode on Chrome or anything like that. They still, that is not in your search history, but that is in Google's search history. So is not safe.
It says on the incognito mode, it says the feds can still look at you. So
yeah,
it's not really that incognito.
Just look up TOR browser, and that'll do it for you. I'm willing to give advice on this part because I actually am tech savvy and I know how computers work. But
I also recommend VPNs; those will help as well.
Is there anything else we need to say? This has already gone on longer than I actually intended for when we started this.
I think that wraps it up. Just take care, be safe. This sucks.
Punch fascists.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right. I guess that's it then. Hopefully next Buddhish can be something fun.
Hopefully. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.